Give the order.
Yes, sir.
Hi there. Today we're going to explore the plot of the 2016 film Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. It's no secret that those changed by the infection, having once tasted the flavor of reason, always crave more. But it has never been as obvious as during the most recent assault by the horde of the infected. It all began back in the 19th century, when England actively engaged in international trade. At first, everything went splendidly. The country received exotic spices and goods. But one day, a virus entered the country and changed people. The wave of the infected was unstoppable. Even the soldiers fighting them eventually joined their ranks. The remnants of humanity hid behind high walls. At the same time, construction began on the Royal Canal, a deep moat surrounding the cities. The territory between the two fortifications was called the In-Between Land. But during the second wave of infection, all the residents of the In-Between Land were wiped out. It is said that when the king saw this, he lost his mind and ordered all bridges destroyed, leaving only one, the Hingham Bridge. To this day, it remains the only structure leading across the canal. Those who believed the threat had passed returned to their fortified estates. It was to one of these that Darcy arrived. He was checked for symptoms and let through. The mistress of the estate, Miss Featherstone, along with the other residents, was playing cards and assured Darcy that no infected had been seen there in a long time. Darcy said he wanted to join the game, sat at the table and took out a capsule containing flies. These insects could detect the infected. They flew around the room and eventually landed on one man who was in the early stages of infection. Darcy immediately neutralized the threat and asked if the man could have infected anyone else. The woman replied, no. Darcy left, but Miss Featherstone's daughter was hiding something. She ran off to check on the man's niece. Turns out, the girl had also changed and attacked everyone around her. Meanwhile, Mr. Bennet was teaching his daughters the basics of survival in this new reality, much to the disapproval of their mother. She believed the girls should engage in more traditional activities, especially with a ball coming up soon. Many were excited about this news, but Elizabeth was indifferent. At the ball, Bingley fell in love with Jane, with whom he danced. He even advised Darcy to choose a partner, perhaps Elizabeth. Darcy admitted that she was attractive, but said that wasn't enough to continue the evening. Elizabeth overheard this, tried to leave, but accidentally dropped a vial. Infected Featherstone silently approached her, but Darcy managed to stop him in time. The noise drew a crowd, and more infected appeared. That's when the skills their father had taught the girls came in handy. Darcy was impressed and began to see Elizabeth in a new light. The next morning, Jane received an invitation for a date from Bingley. She rode out to meet him, but was startled by an infected along the way. Her horse threw her off. Her firearm jammed, but her knife proved effective. Just as she sighed in relief, another one emerged from the forest. The next day, Elizabeth arrived at Bingley's estate, as Jane had fallen ill. Darcy suspected it might be something dangerous and released the flies, which did not react to Jane. The following day, the rest of the sisters arrived with their mother. Darcy reminded everyone that even without symptoms, infection was still possible. Meanwhile, Jane's mother convinced Bingley to throw another ball to lift everyone's spirits. There was also Uncle Collins in the family, who after Bennet's death was to inherit the land. He was interested in Jane, but her mother said she was already taken and suggested he turn his attention to Elizabeth. A bit later, everyone stumbles upon an overturned carriage from which cries for help are heard. But it was a trap. While the girls handle the danger, Collins watches from a distance, refusing even to take up a weapon. A new squad of soldiers arrives in the city. They've been assigned to guard the area as the number of infected is rising. Lieutenant Wickham commands the district, and he strikes up a conversation with Elizabeth. Darcy sees this and leaves without speaking to her. At the evening ball, Elizabeth wants to approach Wickham, but Collins intercepts her. Even when Darcy offers a dance, Collins ruins everything. Elizabeth meets Bingley, and they hear a strange noise. Peeking behind a door, they see one of the servants in trouble. The pair grab weapons and go to investigate the room. Bingley is suddenly attacked and falls. Elizabeth sees a group of aggressive creatures, one of whom mentions that someone let them in, but they are stopped by Darcy, who appears just in time and neutralizes the threat. He thinks Bingley has been hurt, but Elizabeth assures him that he merely fell. The next day, Collins proposes to Elizabeth, but she categorically refuses. Her father supports her, but her mother does not. Furious, Elizabeth heads into the woods, where she sees 4 suspicious men with birds circling above them. Wickham calls out to her, and when she turns around, the men are gone. He tells her no one was there and leads her to an old church. Inside, the people act strangely. The priest offers them a remedy that temporarily suppresses outbursts of aggression. Wickham believes peace between humans and the infected is possible. Elizabeth wants to inform the king, but Wickham sees no point. The nation is already on the brink, and there are more infected than humans. A few days later, Elizabeth visits the estate of Collins's relatives, where she meets Lady Catherine and sees Darcy. The lady believes that peace with the infected is a utopia. Collins, however, has found a prophecy about a leader who is supposedly destined to lead an army of the undead. Darcy also opposes Wickham's ideas. That night, Wickham sneaks into Elizabeth's room and asks her to leave with him. She refuses, and he warns of an imminent day of reckoning. The next morning, Darcy confesses his feelings, but they argue again. In a letter she reads later, Darcy reveals Wickham's past and his own perspective on everything that has happened. Soon, the capital comes under a massive attack. Someone has been helping the infected infiltrate the city. This threatens the walls that protect humanity's last refuge. Elizabeth learns that her sister has gone missing and suspects Wickham may have taken her to the church. Catherine comes to Elizabeth and declares that Darcy must marry her daughter. But if Elizabeth makes the first move, everything could still change. She promises to protect Elizabeth's family. Elizabeth and her sister set off for the last bridge over the canal, despite warnings that it is about to be destroyed to stop the spread of the infection. They find Bingley and Darcy, surrounded by infected, and they must defend themselves. Darcy informs them that the church has already been destroyed, but Elizabeth realizes he lied to protect her. Darcy sets off alone and finds Lydia and the plan to destroy the capital. Wickham is behind it all. They confront each other, but a gunshot attracts the infected, giving Darcy a chance to rescue Elizabeth's sister. Elizabeth also arrives just in time to save Darcy and help him escape before the bridge explodes. A few days later, Darcy and Elizabeth marry. But Wickham reappears on the horizon. He survived, and the conflict is far from over. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.